Yakmala! Welcome back, my friends, to the Cult Film Showdown. I am your host, 8th Dan Stanadu, and I am super happy to be joined by my good friends, and I have Jack, and depending on what he's called this week.
Oh, yeah. No, it's interesting you brought that up, because here's the problem with being on a world-famous podcast like this, is
you get recognized?
I changed my name to Chris, to Peacock. And,
right.
The Peacock Network cease and desist from the Peacock Network. They that's the problem. They thought it would be confusing to people, that new streaming service from NBC. So, I had to change my name. It's, for your guys' sake, I didn't want the legal issues dragging you down.
Yeah. I mean, it is a problem. You have way more subscribers than the Peacock Network does. So
this is true.
This is true.
Yeah. He's right up there with QB.
Yeah, I have, I think I have 2,000 subscribers on Twitter. So, way more than Peacock Network. But anyways, cease and desist. So, I'm not going to let them take it all from me. Like, I've decided to go with a McCock as my last name. And then I'll just change the first name just so it's not confusing. So, Paul.
Okay. Thankfully, that wasn't confusing at all.
Are you gonna say the name? The new Paul McCock.
Okay, and James Cotta, we've heard you.
Yes, I am here, and I am thrilled to announce our new show sponsor, Spatula City.
Spatula City.
I was gonna do that later.
where they sell spatulas, and that's all.
And that's all. All right. And speaking of that's all, Nick Boxer.
Greetings and salutations. You almost caught me with my finger up my nose.
Almost.
But you didn't.
Oh, okay.
Keep us updated on that situation.
I will.
We wouldn't want to fall out of the loop in that case. And for those of you who know the movie well and may not have guessed it, we are talking about UHF, the Weird Al Yankovic cult classic today. So, yeah. I mean, I don't even know what the hell we're doing anymore. So of course, James, your concept.
But I know. Okay, yeah, James has to explain the concept, but I know pretty soon we're going to get some to explain the movie to us.
Yes, for sure.
Okay, so the season is called 85 Minutes of Fame, I think.
Last time I looked.
And a reference to the classic Andy Warhol line, in the future everyone will be famous for 15 minutes. These are all films starring someone who is best known for something that is not film. In this case, the great Weird Al Yankovic, best known for being the son of polka legend Frankie Yankovic.
Yeah, that's true. That's what he's known for.
That's his claim to fame. Yeah. Now, Paul, do you want to tell us what the
Well, I mean, it's UHF because, like you say, I mean, it stars Weird Al. It's he's had cameos in other movies, but this is his only starring role. His only real acting role that he ever did in a movie. He had a variety TV show that doesn't, but I don't think that variety TV show doesn't count. And besides, I think less people saw that than subscribe to the Peacock Network. So, So anyways, Weird Al, UHF, very at this point a strong cult following for this film.
All right. Now, and this means
air quotes. This is an audio podcast around the word acting role.
Well, he didn't play himself, but even then, that's I would have picked the Howard Stern private parts, but it's way too good.
Yes, the plot of this film is quite ingenious and unique. Weird Al playing a character that looks and acts mostly like Weird Al is kind of a loser and can't find his place in life, can't hold down a job. So through a family connection, he gets put in charge of a television station a UFH station, coincidentally. I wonder if they thought of that before they named this movie. Because that happens. So he's managing the station, and through no fault of his own, the station all of a sudden becomes popular because he puts Kramer on there for no apparent reason. And then some funny stuff happens, and then because they got popular, the big bad television station in town decides to try to, take them out, and it almost works, and they have a telethon, and wow, now it's the People Station, and Weird Al is happy. That's it. All that happens.
Yeah, that made less sense than anything else I've ever heard in my entire life. The movie makes sense in comparison to that. What the hell? The hell was that?
Well, but in fair, I mean, it's like a stream of consciousness
explanation
of the movie.
That was a stream of consciousness. Well, I guess in the movie is too.
I did try putting this shit down beforehand, and you weren't happy with that either.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Thoughts on the movie there, Nick? Or
No.
Jack or James? James, let's go to James. Thoughts on the movie? I think you're the one who's probably seen this the most. I'd never seen the movie. I'd seen so many clips. I thought I'd seen the movie. I'd never seen the movie. It was the first time I actually saw it.
Well, it definitely knew the movie well, and interesting coming back looking through the lens that we bring to this show of this makes sense because I've seen it since I was a kid. Does it make sense from an outside first eyes kind of point of view? There are a few other films like this. I'm trying to remember. There's a
Boob Tube?
Boob Tube, and there's the sort of sequel to Rocky Horror
Shock
Treatment,
right.
which are I mean, Boob Tube's probably the closest where it's just flipping channels, because this is maybe half of this is story, and
Amazon
then the rest
Women
is
from
kind
Outer
of
Space. Is
yeah,
that the one?
yeah. That's a good example as well, like where it's kind of flipping channels between things. And this is all from the same UHF channel, but it is basically like fake ads and
it's skits.
And some of it's dream sequences as well that are of fake ads. So yeah, I mean it's all
that are of other. Yeah, for some reason those couldn't have been shows that on his network. They have to be done as dreams.
They were too big budget for his actual network. Yeah.
I love that. I love that they paused to put in an entire music video of Weird Al. That was great. That was a good money saver that you could you can
just cut that right out. Yeah.
No, I mean the thing is, that's the sequence that makes the best use of his talents in the whole movie.
For sure, and that is by far my favorite part.
Oh yeah, it's genius. That the Beverly Hillbillies to Money for Nothing, and how well it fits that sequence, and then also just the dead on copy of the video. That sequence is absolute genius, and shows why he's had such a long and successful career at doing the music parodies, not doing movies.
Yes.
Well, it has some good points. It has some bad points in the movies. There was a few things that made me laugh, but I think my problem with the movie was right on. I was expecting the stuff that on the different shows and stuff like that to be wacky, but I wasn't expecting the entire world to be a cartoon. Whereas then, it was because it opens up in a dream sequence of him, and it's a spoof of Indiana Jones, and it's and I'm like, okay, that's fine. Dream sequences or the shows that can be, but everything else was no different than the dream sequences of the shows. That was what caught me off guard.
It seems really like it's almost haphazard the way it's put together. Like it's just. And we talk about stream of consciousness, and it almost is in that regard where it's just like hey, what can go next? I've got an idea. Let's put it here. Okay, and they just kept rolling with it and just jamming stuff in there. So I mean, it's definitely an interesting viewing experience.
Now, does anyone know anything about this film? Was it a studio film? Because I mean, there is not a lot of structure going on other than let's just do clip.
So the film was written in 1980, I think 85, and shot in 87. came out in '88. So it was written in 1985, and took him a couple of years to shopping it around. It was written by Weird Al and his business manager, who also ended up Jay Levy, who also ends up as the director of the film. So it took them a while. Eventually, they found somebody who really liked the script. Most people rejected it outright, but he said, "Can you make it really cheap?" And they said, "Yeah, we can make it for $5 million." And he's like, "Okay." They got him the $5 million, and then it was forever in post-production. When it finally came out, it was released in the summer. It's the same summer as Batman, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, The Living Daylights, Darkman, like just string after string of massive, huge pop culture hits. And it was supposed to save Orion Studios, so that was there because it had the highest test screening in the history of the studio, and then it just absolute bomb. And it wasn't until video then, and years later, and it even went out of print for many years. But it was years later, really when it got on DVD, that it really started to build a cult following. So, yeah, I mean, is it a studio film? Sort of. I mean, it was a studio film for little money where they were like left them alone because they actually trusted Weird Al at that point in time. He was hot and he had a track record.
Yeah, well, around this era, like Yahoo Serious got a movie, so anything could happen.
And this movie's very much compared to that Yahoo Serious. What was it? Something Young
Einstein. Yeah, I love that movie actually.
Yeah, this movie's compared to that a lot.
So had none of you seen this film before doing it for the show?
I've seen it before.
I think I had it memorized from pay TV as a kid. It was in a heavy rotation.
For me, now, when I originally watched this movie, I didn't like the movie at all. So I was interested in seeing, like, I mean, whatever it would be 20, 30 years on, that whether I would actually like this movie now and watching it in this lens. So now I know.
That makes it sound like you can't. You didn't. It did not turn out for you.
I can safely say that I don't need to watch this movie again.
I laughed at some serious some things. I'll save that for the scoring. But I mean, there was definitely things that made me laugh. But it's not it is a sense of, like I say, he ended up with a variety show in the 90s. And if this, you cut out the best skits in this and put them on a variety show for like 20 minutes. Oh man,
amazing,
great.
Yeah,
but yeah, exactly. It'd be fantastic. But as a full movie, I mean, as far as character development or plot and logic or anything behind that story structure, it suffers greatly. And it's a small budget studio film, but it's not really, and it's a cult film, but it doesn't have the schlock for me that I hope for from a film. It's more silly than schlocky.
I mean, I totally understand, though, why this is a cult film, 100%, because I think that there are absolutely people out there that will love this and will want to watch this on a regular basis, because, there's no question, like, it's like it's got so much stuff jammed in it that something is bound to speak to somebody.
Yeah, the highs are high, but the lows are, I mean, Conan the Librarian is not funny at all.
I didn't mind that one, but that's the one that
was really funny.
Yeah, it's funny.
It's no Spatula City.
No, Spatula City is the one that's memorable. I mean, this also this spawned a top selling cassette and CD to go with it of all of the best tunes. So I mean, it really does feel to me like one of those long form videos that was made around this time of like the late 80s, where
like
really
Michael
they
Jackson,
built a structure
and stuff like that.
Yeah, and like Duran Duran Arena, where it's like they really built a movie around a bunch of musical numbers. And in this case, I mean, we've got, because Spatula City is on the cassette. I mean, certainly Beverly Hillbillies, UHF. So I mean, there's and I know that they had to pad it because there's not there's not enough songs in this. It's not a full on like Weird Al musical. But
no, I believe there's only the one song, isn't there?
I think I just said two of them.
Yeah.
Well, Special City wasn't an actual song.
No, but UHF was.
Yeah. That would be a song.
Yeah, that's during the credits, so he might not have heard it.
Either way, there is definitely an album that came from it, and there's lots of stuff. I mean, the album is probably much like I would probably enjoy the album more than the movie. I think.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't because my favorite joke in the whole thing is visual, but the thing that made me laugh the most, and so I would lose that one. But or even Spatula City, I don't know that you'd get, or Wheel of Fish is another one. I don't know if. Well, maybe they would. Maybe you would get that even better if you didn't have the video. But I understand that day that they got real fish from the local market, and the air conditioning wasn't working, and it was a hot day, and they weren't really thinking about it. But they didn't have money for fake fish, so not a pleasant day for the cast and crew. Let's just say on the film. There's a lot of interesting trivia, of course, with this film when he gets to be a cult classic like this, like the fact that the best friend role was originally offered to Jerry Seinfeld and he turned it down. And Ellen DeGeneres was supposed to play the girlfriend, and for some reason that Weird Al doesn't know that it ended up being Victoria Jackson. So it's an interesting, very interesting film. It certainly fits for the season. It'll be interesting in the scoring, but it feels like one of those ones like your Monster Squad that's like it won't do terrible because it has enough to it, but it's not certainly not a contender for the best cult film ever.
Other than Michael Richardson could have taken that role.
Michael Richards.
Yeah.
He's incredibly talented. I mean, you can't deny that, and he specializes in that kind of role. On the other hand, I could not help but watch it and be incredibly offended at the at the character. And it's never implied, but I cannot think that this isn't a character supposed to have, a handicap of some kind. That's, I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
So it's a strange career month for Michael Richards at the time. This film was released on the 21st of July, 1989, and Seinfeld debuted on the 5th of July of the same year. So
there you go.
About 2 weeks between when this movie became the giants. It opened to hundreds and hundreds of dollars, and then Seinfeld debuted.
And Seinfeld debuted to hundreds and hundreds of viewers.
That's right.
It wasn't until season 3 that took off. So yeah.
Nick had said, referred to Michael Richards, the performer, as Kramer, a character that he played on Seinfeld. I always thought of the guy on Seinfeld as the actor who had been in UHF.
There you go.
Because I
always thought of him from Fridays.
Yeah.
Well. Yeah. Oh wow, he was in another show other than Because I could only think of 3 roles he's ever played, and I think I was the only one who ever saw Airheads. So.
Oh yeah, Airheads.
I've totally seen Airheads, but I've forgotten him in it.
I'm with you there. I don't remember him being in it, but
partially that's just me. It's just like I see him and it's just like, oh, block it out, get it out.
I was kidding. I never saw Fridays, though I've gone back and watched it now. I did see him on The Tonight Show. He used to come on with Jay Leno and do basically this character, sketches like that, like where he would be like a guy who would be working out and just be really clumsy, like a human Goofy, basically. Yeah.
Well, aren't we lucky we don't ever have to see him again? So.
Yeah, while he's managed to bounce back to the point where he gets roles occasionally. Clearly, the racist prick deserves to not work.
Well, I don't know what else.
It's not unfair.
So far.
Hey,
yeah.
It's a comedy show, but I mean, it had to be said.
I don't think it did.
No?
I think we were probably fine. People probably did that before this.
Edit that part out.
What? Edit these show-stopping moments.
Well,
I'm kind of done. I don't even want to score it anymore. So
we don't edit.
You'll know because of the large space where it is. Well, you want to get to
the audio waveform just goes to nothing here for about 20 seconds. I wonder if that's a drop out there. All right, scoring it is. In our search for the ultimate B movie, we rate each film in 5 categories, none of which are objective quality. The first category we call schlock appeal, and we start with Stan.
Well, it was said before that that whatever his name is decided that this isn't very schlocky, and the thing is that I do tend to agree. Like, I think this wound up being largely exactly what they wanted to do, and in and of itself, I think like the intention is schlocky more so than the actual execution, just because it's so Weird Al, it's so wild and fun, and being able to put these crazy little skits down. And I think a lot of like comedy people probably have the same kind of goal of being able to make something like this where they can just do fun little bits and they don't have to actually bog themselves down with story very often. But it's true, like I don't tend to think of it as a schlocky movie. I'm just going to give it a 4.
I can't say it's terribly schlocky. It might get a couple points just because every comedian during this time period sort of gets a shot at trying to become something. They were just throwing anything at the wall to see if it worked. So, but on a whole, I couldn't see this playing in drive-in or Grindhouse or anything like that. And even the bad bits are almost intentionally bad. Like, the badness is sort of forced. So I can't go any higher than a 3.
Oh, I got it's light. It's an easy watch. It's, like I say, more silly than schlocky, but I mean it's a fun movie. I can see why people like it. I'm giving it a 6. I have a little bit of a soft spot for it, even though it's not great.
Yeah, but this is schlock, not is it good?
Well, it's schlock appeal, and I found it appealing. So, it's silliness appeal more than schlock appeal, but I still found it appealing. So.
I'm fine with that.
6. Yeah. It's not schlock.
I'm so happy that Stan didn't veto Jackson.
That's right. No, I approve of your appeal score. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll split the difference and go with a 5. I think that the overall structure of the story, no, but I mean the bits you can pull out of individual pieces that are, it's interesting to frame them as UHF because it's not framed as like BoobTube is framed as 57 channels and nothing on kind of stuff. This could have been trailers from a drive-in if you had done it 10 years earlier.
Mm-hmm.
All right, more heart than budget. Reported budget $5 million in 1989.
I mean, it's a tough one. I mean, they certainly put everything. They wanted to make this movie. They did make this movie, and I think they did a good job as a whole, given their limitations. I'll go with 6.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of heart in this, in individual things. On a whole, maybe not. The mere fact that Weird Al has never made another movie since, I'm sure his subsequent career outside of movies could support a second movie of some sort, especially considering the cult status of this film. But no, he hasn't wanted to go back. I am sure he wanted to do a lot of the skits, but the whole thing, I don't think so. So I can only go up to a 6.
I think it has. I think the reason why it has that cult appeal is because it has a lot of heart. Is because it does feel genuine. These people who didn't really know what they're doing, but it's everything's genuine to me in the movie. So I think it has a lot of heart, and there is a lot of appeal for or a lot of requests for a sequel. But basically, Weird Al's like, look, it didn't do anything in the box office. Why would we waste our money again? But I think that's a mistake from him. I bet you if this came out in the theaters in a sequel after the cult following, I bet you it would do extremely well. Extremely well, relatively speaking, because I think it would still have to be made on a small budget.
They could get their $5 million back for sure.
Well, if they made it $15 million now, and I think they would easily domestic box office would probably go between 60 and 80 million, I would think, which is a lot better than the original.
I'm just thinking he looked bored in anything that involved story in this entire thing. I mean, the setup scenes are painful.
Yeah. Well, he's just not good at that part. But then again, I do understand that the Twinkie and hot dog with cheese on it is delicious. so he did. I think he enjoyed that part.
Good, yeah.
I got a 7.
I think that the bits they were there for. I think the romantic part of the story is what's clunky. I think that Weird Al's scenes with Michael Richards are really great. The relationship between him and his friend are really great. And I think that they were going for something specific, and because it was such a low budget, they were able to kind of play. So I went for 8 on this. What the fuck moments?
This one's an interesting one because as I was watching it, I thought to myself, oh, the hobo, that's totally what the fuck. I don't get that. But then, of course, by the end, that totally pays off. And
who auditioned for that part and was turned down because he wasn't right for it? Ginger Baker.
I don't know who that is.
Only one of the greatest drummers of all time, but most importantly, only one of the biggest curmudgeons of all time.
Yes, exactly. That's why that one's interesting. I knew you knew who he was. You watch the documentary. What the hell's it called? Mr. Baker, and you'll be like, oh man, nobody in the planet is a bigger asshole than this man. and it's great. He's
funny
just
because
horrible.
he's such an asshole.
He's so horrible to the guy who does the documentary on him that it's just incredible.
I like that you were both able to be condescending that I didn't know who it was without actually telling me who it is.
Drummer for Cream.
Cream. Yeah, who's in Cream. He was the drummer for Cream. One of the greatest drummers of all time, no question.
Wasn't actually trying to be condescending. Just was trying to, or more be fun. But all right, next time.
I thought educate you. I mean, what's condescending about that?
Only one of the best drummers of all time from a band name.
So there. Now you know, and knowing is half the battle. But anyways, that was way more what the fuck than a lot of this movie. The thing is that there's a lot of. I mean, this is chock full of things from out of nowhere. But that's just what they wanted. So for me, I didn't actually think it was terribly what the fuck. I would just give it a 3.
No, the WTFs, if there are any in this movie, are all meant for humorous purposes. Yeah, I'll go even lower too.
Yeah, I got 5. I think it definitely has WTF.
I think you're voting with your love of this movie. I mean, it's a much better movie than our scores would reflect. But
no, I mean the thing is, Wheel of Fish is definitely WTF. The problem is it's purposeful WTF. So if I scored the actual amount of WTFs from somebody who didn't understand how we score things, it'd be a 10. If I score the amount of WTFs by accident, it'd be a 0. So I'm going right in the middle for a 5.
I just want to go on record that I support all of your ratings, Jack. I'm not questioning.
Judging a lot of people's judging today.
Are you sure about that? I don't know. I'm not sure about that one.
Less confident about my own. I think you're right that it is. It's the intentional part that it is. Much like other absurdist things that we've seen, like Cap and Boy, is very intentional that any of the left turns are not happenstance. They're intended that way to be absurd and non sequitur and such. Only 4 for me on this category. Memorable moments.
Not like I gave it a 10. I gave it a 5.
I spun the Wheel of Fish and you failed. No. I think that it's interesting. From having watched this so much earlier when it came out, I think
disliking it back then, didn't you? You highly disliked it.
Well, I just don't remember. I just didn't remember enjoying it, and I thought I would, but I think that I don't think there's a lot that stuck with me per se when I watched it again. But the interesting thing, though, is that I think that there are other things that from this movie that kind of did stick with me that I didn't actually attached to this movie. Like when you talk about Gandhi 2 and stuff like that, like those are the kind of moments where it's just like those things come up in pop culture, like Gandhi 2 and like Rambo 796 and that kind of thing. And I feel like a lot of that does have to do with Gandhi 2 from UHF. So I think that there is moments that are memorable. I mean, certainly now I'm unlikely to forget the music video sequence. So for me, I'll give it a 6, but I understand how lots of people could go way higher.
Yeah, I'm one of those lots of people. I'm going with an 8 just because I remembered a whole lot of these skits. And I've seen both Boom Tube and Amazon Woman on the Moon, and I can't remember any of those skits. I mean, I remember Kentucky Fried Movie a little bit more, but I think the skits that are good in this are memorable. Even the ones I don't like Conan the Librarian, I remembered before it hit in the movie. So definitely, yeah, 8.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the category where this film shines clearly. It's a really, I mean, again, I thought I had seen the movie when I hadn't seen it because the clips are out there so much, and it's made such a pop culture impact. Little things like the little dance that he does as Uncle Nutty's or whatever, I don't know, so whatever his playhouse is, Uncle Nutty's Playhouse. The music video. My favorite skit, I laughed my ass off. I couldn't stop laughing when the poodle's flying.
The Wild Kingdom.
Yes. Oh my God,
Raul's Wild Kingdom.
Raul's Wild Kingdom. And he takes the poodle and he's like, "I'm going to teach it to fly," and he throws it out, and you hear this boom, and so he takes another one. And he's like, "Oh, that one didn't work. Let's try it again, kids." And he picks that up and he throws the other one out. And this time you see it land again, but it's a huge pile, like 10 or 15.
My favorite part of that was actually when it cut back to Weird Al and his buddy, and it was just like, "Who put this on the air?" "Oh, I thought it was you. I thought it was you." Like, it was just...
I thought it was the funniest. I laughed for like 5 minutes. I was laughing so hard. Tears were coming from my eyes. Just the idea that he's tried this like 10 times, it hasn't worked. He sticks his head out the window and goes, "Oh man."
And then when he gets the shipment of new animals, later on.
Yeah,
badgers,
the badger joke was totally unnecessary, but appreciated.
Exactly. This movie has a ton of shout outs to the cult movies and cult characters and posters and named after like old cult movies and posters in the background and all that kind of stuff. Like it's got a love for that kind of stuff, back to the heart. So I definitely think this is huge. I've got a 9. There's a whole bunch of stuff on this I'm not gonna forget.
I would definitely, Raul's Wild Kingdom is amazing. The Wheel of Fish is the only game show that they show on, and you spin a wheel that has about 20 different kinds of fish on it. Red Snapper is what the woman spins, and but the payoff of that scene where is that she can keep the Red Snapper, which because the grand prize winner gets their weight in fish. You can keep the Red Snapper or take what's in the box, and then what's in the box is nothing. You get nothing. You're so stupid.
That's right.
I just absolutely
to that actor.
That Cooney character was.
He was in a lot of movies in the 80s. I think he was on a ton of teen comedies and such. There's a lot of those bits that just stuck with me over the years, I have a soft spot for this movie because it is a heartwarming story. It's really big cartoonish bad guys versus the hero who means well, dreams big. So all the way up to a 10 for me on this.
Yeah. Oh, and Emo Phillips.
And Emo Phillips. Oh, I love that. Isn't my face red? I like that. I'm not going to forget that. The villain is really good in this. The guy who played the villain did a really good job of that over-the-top egomaniac type of villain. This movie's got, like, that Emo Phillips thing is usually cut when it's shown on Comedy Central, as is Conan the Barbarian, as is the at very end where the woman knees him in the balls and you don't see it, but it knees the bad guy in the balls. That's cut for some reason. Like, a lot of stuff is cut, and you're like, really? From, a cable network? Anyways.
Kevin McCarthy as the bad guy, best known. I think career-wise, best known for the original Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Mm.
Oh yeah, that's right. I hadn't put that together. Yeah. There's a cult classic that wouldn't fit.
It also wouldn't score well on the show. Yeah. There's probably there's about 18 Body Snatcher movies though, so one of them might
guaranteed one of them will.
Yeah. With maybe the one by, what's his name, Abe Ferrara or
Ferrara?
Snatchers, I think.
So, it's just called Snatch.
I don't know. How would Snatch score?
Probably about as well as this is doing. Crazy concept.
This one, I struggle with this one ultimately, just because I think that this is the kind of movie. I mean, it was created right around Weird Al's popularity height. This is exactly what he wanted to do. I mean, I think it is a hard sell just based on what it is, but given the type and the volume of other types of movies that we've seen like this, I don't think it's all that crazy. I really do think that it plays to his strengths, and that's a great idea for him. But I can only give it a 2.
Yeah, I can't go high either, just because, if I was unfamiliar with this movie, but knew who Weird Al was, and then was told he made a movie, I'd assume he made this movie. So, yeah, 2 is the appropriate score.
I think I got it higher just because the fact is that
we named 3 other films, I believe, that are exactly like this film around this period.
Yeah, but again, judging my judging, I got
Nick already said 2 is the appropriate score.
When he did that, I was like, you didn't really leave me any room for anything else. No, the reason this was turned down by Hollywood Scripts was because it was too crazy a concept. Weird Al with no experience, and his manager, who had directed some of his music videos, but other than that, had never directed anything, with this script, and it's all at one station, and originally it was looking for a bigger budget, and it's just such a strange. The skits are so strange, so ultimately strange. I think it's definitely weirder than that. I got a 6.
I think that high level concept, that it is makes sense for Weird Al and his type of humor. Then there's a love story in this,
sorta,
but with Victoria Jackson, who dumps him and then does not see him for a full half hour of a 97-minute movie. She vanishes completely for about 20 minutes, and then she pops back up for a scene without him. So I think jamming in the romance, it gets a lot of points on this, and I think also, as Nick mentioned, there aren't actually a lot of songs in this. Literally, the only thing Weird Al is known for is his parody songs, aside from being the son of Frankie Yankovic, polka legend.
The biggest thing he's known for.
Yes.
So secondarily, his hit songs, and then that it's not full of the songs. The soundtrack actually has original songs on it because there just aren't enough in the film to make a whole cassette.
And maybe that's actually part of the problem with, in some cases, is that there's this whole hope that you're going to get this whole 90 minutes of new Weird Al music, and instead you actually wind up getting like Conan the Librarian and stuff like that. This is like, how are you doing it?
About 9 minutes of
Why didn't Gallagher get a movie?
There must be a Gallagher movie. You're gonna get we're going down the rabbit hole there.
Yeah. No, Tim, I'm not ready.
I'm Gallagher or Gallagher 2?
What's Gallagher 2?
Oh, you don't know this story? Gallagher.
Oh, there you go again. Now you're getting. Oh, you mean you don't know this?
This is great. Like, I'm not trying to be condescending. I'm just like I'm happy to be able to like share it with you.
The way he worded that sounded like he was about to tell me, and the way that you worded it, Stanton, sounded like you were never going to tell me. So there.
Gallagher sold his act to his twin brother, so it became Gallagher 2. But they didn't tell anybody it was his twin brother. So everybody thought they were still paying for Gallagher, and meanwhile his twin brother was doing the act, but had none of the talent or timing or anything like that. So. And eventually, the original brother wanted it back, and he wouldn't give it, so it became a lawsuit. Oh, it was all this stuff. It's awesome. It's like one of those true Hollywood stories. It should be a little mini movie of the week if Gallagher was still as popular, because he was massive at one point, but now nobody would watch it.
Yeah,
you can put it on the Peacock Network.
Yeah, you kind of forget that Gallagher was as big as he was.
I do love a good watermelon.
All I remember is the watermelon. I don't know if he had another bit. I assume if you paid to see just him, there had to be something besides the watermelon, but I don't know what it was. That is all that's remembered. It's like when we did the Evel Knievel, like he did the jump, which takes about 45 seconds. So what the hell else happened on the day that you could show up and be there for the afternoon?
Yeah.
All right, 6 is what I went with as well, which this film does get penalized for being over 95 minutes. It is 97 minutes. If it was the TV cut we had watched, it would have come under. They would have shaved out.
You know what? 97 minutes doesn't seem so long compared to what is coming up.
Yeah. So that gives it a final total of 53.5 out of 100, which puts it right above Warlock 2, the Armageddon, and right below Skidoo.
I was going to say, let me guess, Skidoo. The place that everything is. The one thing that I'll say about this movie, that especially right at the end, as I was watching it, I was just like, dude, this is Breaking 2 right now, like the whole like last.
Well, yeah, I mean, let's have a car wash to save the whatever. That's a fairly that's a fairly solid 70s and 80s trope.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the third act of this, is that they have a buy a share in the station to save the station fundraiser.
Yeah, Ski School 2 really cemented that in there.
Yeah.
That
everyone's like, we should have an ending like the Ski School 2.
Yeah, well, not just them. I remember like Silence of the Lambs was like, we should have an ending like Ski School 2. Like everybody was saying that.
Yep,
for a while.
Sure. It was just huge.
Yeah. It was, yeah.
Speaking of huge, well, our next movie is The China Salesman with avec Mike Tyson.
Sort of.
And so, yeah, let's see now. How about we do some business?
All right. We are sponsored by We Talk Podcasts, and if you go to their website, wetalkpodcast.com, that is the home of the Octagon, where we keep track of our ongoing search for the ultimate B movie. Also, we are on Instagram at Cult Film Showdown, and We Talk Podcasts has a Twitter, and they have a Facebook. All of those will keep you up to date with what we're up to.
That's fantastic. It's important.
Good job, Jim. You really threw out the cat with that one.
How about the bathwater?
The cat was in the bathwater? I mean, the cat would be running away if it was in the bathwater.
Good point.
Anyways, so next episode we are moving on with The China Salesman. And does anybody have anything else to say? I hope not.
Please don't make me do the plot.
Oh boy, looking forward to that. Yeah. Well, maybe
shitty.
when we do get the new cult film Showdown theme song, then I'm sure that that UHF will help us come up with some.
Oh,
with some fun
hey,
lyrics.
that's not a bad idea. Let's just steal largely that too.
Yeah. You got it all on cult film Showdown. Yes.
Yeah. I like
Got
it.
it all on CFS.
Yeah, I like it.
All right. Well, for Jim and for Jack or Paul or whatever the hell he's calling himself this week, and for Nick, I am your host, 8th Dan Stanadu, and thanks for listening to the Cult Film Showdown.
Listen, let's get one thing straight. Guns don't kill people. I do.
Channel 62 has the lowest ratings in the history of television. What they need is a new station manager.
No, not him. Forget it. No way.
A man of action. A man of courage. A man of vision.
What's your name?
Billy.
Billy what?
What they get is a man so desperate, he'll put anyone on the air.
Hey, Stanley.
Yeah, George?
How would you like your own TV show?
Okay.
You get the drink from the fire hose! Okay, you ready? Yeah! Open wide!
He's Conan, the librarian.
Today we're teaching poodles how to fly.
We beat out the networks.
George Newman. He starts where the others stop.
We're the #1 station in town.
Orion Pictures presents Weird Al Yankovic in UHF, the movie.